sports. It's in the game.
Well, it has been very difficult for the Castellet to get the same affection from fans as Many Cause does, but it is still great to see the French Grand Prix back on the calendar. And here we are today for round 7 of this already enthralling 2021 Formula 1 season. And we have clouds overhead today, but they're not expected to produce any threat of rain, and are expected to clear very quickly due to our forecast, but you can never be too sure. 3.6 miles, 15 corners and 2 DRS zones make up the Castellet, and it is going to be set for maximum effectiveness for DRS zones for overtaking, particularly down the first one, heading up to the Chicane Nord, which was a point of concern for disorientation with the tracks reintroducing in 2019. But these are 20th the best drivers in the world. We're here for our 3rd year, and I doubt that's of little concern now. So qualifying was an absolute lottery, especially the first part when rain was involved. The star was shown was Aiden Jackson. We'll talk more about that later. Let's take you through the full grid of 20 then, as the track dried out for Q2 and Q3. Max Verstappen lines up on pole position for the first time in a few races, alongside his teammate Sergio Perez as in another Red Bull lockout. Ferrari put their speed spec power unit to good use, lining up on the 2nd row ahead of the Mercedes of Hamilton and Bottas. Daniel Ricciardo lines up P7 ahead of Pierre Gasly, completing the top 10 Sebastian Vettel, and Lando Norris getting his first start of the season, although I think he had a penalty judging by the behind time. Alonso and Stroll line up on row 6, Jackson promoted to 13th and 15th due to good penalties, lines up alongside Ocon. Giovinazzi is alongside Russell. Yuki Tsunoda was the first of the good penalties, down in P17 alongside Mick Schumacher in P18. Back of the grid was a second grid penalty, which involved Kimi Raikkonen in the Alfa Romeo. Nicholas Latifi lining up at the back of the grid, 14 seconds behind, of course, because of the rain in Q1, in which Aiden Jackson stole the show with a position of P12. Unfortunately, the track dried out and the HAAS showed its lack of power in terms of on the straights again, but he did still do great to get into P15, and he obviously benefited from 2 penalties. And Jackson is starting to raise some eyes, not just in the world of Formula 1, but in the Formula 1 media as well. What you're about to see now is the first initial ratings for the F1 2021 video game. And every driver has a rating, and Aiden Jackson is a overall rating of 79, which puts him 2nd amongst the 3 rookies, Tsunoda himself and Mick Schumacher. And his racecraft was a particular notice, which he was 87 rated. And to be honest, after Azerbaijan, that's really not too far from the truth, and Spain as well, where he went wheel to wheel with Nicholas Latifi for 3 whole corners, almost 4 I think. And so the racecraft and the awareness is actually pretty accurate for Jackson. He's probably one of the most accurate ratings in the field, because of course they do spark controversy and discussion, let's say, in the F1 community, but Aiden Jackson has been pretty much put on correct. So there'll be no arguments when it comes to him, and really, who can blame them? Jackson is just raising some eyebrows with every single race. Azerbaijan was by far his best performance in the season so far. This guy is a loanee from Mercedes in a car that has almost no development for it, apart from the Ferrari B-spec power unit that was introduced in Azerbaijan, and Jackson put it in P13 at the end of the 2nd corner. Sadly, I think it's going to be a case of deja vu for him today, but if he gets a good start from P13, who knows? And Jackson did make a great start in Baku, even though he did have a lot of wheel spin, but if Jackson is starting to get some good starts, who knows where he could end up. But the focus will be at the front today, with Max Verstappen still with no win in 2021, despite his 3rd or 4th pole position. Sergio Perez will be full of confidence following his win in Baku as well. What can Mercedes do from 5th and 6th? It's their worst position of the season, and we'll get to see how good Ferrari really are now. So the Ferrari B-Spec power unit will certainly be a point of watching for this French Grand Prix. Green flag at the back, 5 lights run ahead of the drivers. It slides down, away we go for round 7 of the 2021 season, the French Grand Prix. Max Verstappen gets a great start ahead of Sergio Perez. Absolutely no threat from behind. There's Charles Leclerc going into P2 perhaps. Has Perez been able to hold it? Yes, he has. And already the Ferraris are making good on their new power unit. And they have stayed ahead of the Mercedes, with Bottas trying to go and look around the outside of Lewis Hamilton. It's 3 wide between Jackson and it is Jackson. Jackson's in P10. Oh my goodness, he's going down the inside. And he passed Ricciardo. Jackson's got another great start into P9 then. He's going to go for P8 as he passed Gasly as well. Apparently there is a track limit incident involving car 89 that's been noted by the stewards. That's Aiden Jackson. So maybe they think that he gained an advantage somewhere. Hopefully we'll have a replay later. He's got swamped already by Gasly, but he does hold off Ricciardo, who knocks off one of the bollards in that chicane. And that's probably from Jackson forcing him to take the curb there. So we'll have a look on the replay later. But Jackson, obviously the stewards feel that maybe Jackson, it's not uncommon for Jackson. He did have a great start in Baku. That's probably a little harsh, but I guess we'll see later. And the stewards can see the replay. But Jackson from P13 is in P9. He's done it again, lads. He's absolutely done it again. Aiden Jackson has flown off the line, and now he's in a points playing position. Sadly for him, he has both McLarens of Ricciardo and Norris directly behind him, and I doubt he'll be able to really match up with them, although he did give Ricciardo a bit of a fight into the chicane Nord, the first chicane on the circuit. Max Verstappen already trying to grow to a second lead ahead of Perez before DRS activates at the end of this next lap. Nicholas Latifi there at the back. So here's the start then, replay from Max Verstappen, and it was a pretty clean start. Once again, he's on the soft tyres. I believe all the top 10 started on the soft tyres, so no one's really trying anything different when it comes to tyres, because I don't think tyres really take a lot of pain here. Again, the straights are long, so let's see how Jackson got into the points here. He flies past Lance Stroll. He's going down the inside of both the McLaren there of Norris and Alonso. He takes both of them in the first corner. My word. And that racecraft certainly is accurate, isn't it? He tried to have a look around the outside of Ricciardo, which turns to the inside for the chicane. He takes it nicely. Where is this track limits noting from? Oh, he dives down the inside. He takes the curb. To me, that looks fair. And the stewards have ruled no investigation necessary for car 89 involving track limits. And that looks fair to me, because he did knock over the bollard, but his left wheels were on the track. And then, of course, Jackson, pretty much in vintage HAAS fashion, gets swamped down the straight. Although, to be fair, he did hang it in against Ricciardo and maintained 10th position. So Jackson is, actually that's 9th position, not 10th, my apologies. Yes, because he passed about 4 cars going before turn 1 had even arrived, to be honest. But he's already getting pursued there by Ricciardo. Let's see if he tries to hang it. That's a really fast corner. You can make it almost flat. Jackson has really liked that corner in this car, and he's really feeling at one with it recently over the last 2 races. He's starting to feel at one with this car. So it looks like he's starting to get used to it. Mick Schumacher is down in P19, still being pursued by Nicholas Latifi. And look how close the McLarens are. We are going to have a lot of this with the HAAS out of position in P9. We're going to have HAAS trains led by Aiden Jackson, but he's got every right to defend his position, and we know how good he can defend his position, as Baku proved. So Max Verstappen now with DRS online, with the 3rd racing lap starting. Sergio Perez is currently in P2, and he's going to be in DRS range. And Carlos Sainz has passed Leclerc. So Carlos Sainz has passed Leclerc into P3. The Ferraris are hanging it with the Mercedes, and Mercedes, this must be raising some eyebrows and being real points of concern for Mercedes, because this is the first time this season they have looked really out of place, even behind Ferrari. So the B-Spec Ferrari unit that was introduced in Baku has helped Sainz and Leclerc maintain, get ahead of Mercedes and maintain ahead of Mercedes as well. There was almost 3 wide there between, I think it was the McLarens and Jackson. Ricciardo has passed Jackson, unfortunately, so now he's down to P10, and he'll be easy work for Lando Norris, you have to feel. So unfortunately, we are going to get that sinking feeling of Aiden Jackson having a stellar drive and not really getting much for it. There he goes round the fast corner. Jackson tries to hold it around the outside against the McLaren. He did. Jackson, that was fair enough. That was fair enough from Jackson. He had better traction and power coming out of that corner. And like we said, Jackson's HAAS has really liked the corners on this circuit. He's looked very at one with the car, especially when it comes to the corners. It's the straights that are letting HAAS down. And maybe with the new cars, hold on a minute, we've got Carlos Sainz passing Max Verstappen round the outside. What is going on here? Oh my goodness! Carlos Sainz passed Max Verstappen round the outside. Hold the presses, folks. That is some move from Carlos Sainz. Oh my good. And there's Leclerc passing Verstappen as well. And a Mercedes almost of Hamilton. And they're going to be side by side. Is Max developing another engine problem? Because it's not unlike Max Verstappen to be falling this far this quickly. And oh dear. Are we now looking at another Honda problem for Max Verstappen? He's already had 2 DNFs this season with engine failures. And now he's being swamped by both Mercedes on either side of him. Oh my goodness. Hamilton's made the move stick. Bottas not as such. But have we got problems for Max Verstappen? He's dropping like a boat at the moment. He's absolutely sinking. Sebastian Vettel's in P7. That's a great effort. He started 9th on the grid. And Bottas has got past Verstappen. They're all on the same amount of tyres. Max Verstappen has a problem. There's got to be a problem with that Red Bull. Because it's unlike Max to be falling this far behind that quickly. And he was right behind. He was leading the race. And in the space of almost, not even half a lap almost, he's now down to P6. There is a problem in that Red Bull of Max Verstappen. But now, this sets up a really interesting race. Red Bull's hopes are lying on Sergio Perez again. Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc are 2nd and 3rd. Sainz has got clear of Charles Leclerc when it comes to DRS. He is half a second behind Perez. In fact, made that 3 tenths behind Perez. Is there an overtaking move on for Carlos Sainz? Now, Carlos Sainz has been a driver that has been overlooked to the max for the most part of his career. He was snubbed for Max Verstappen at Red Bull, which turned out to be an inspired decision, let's be fair. But, you know, Sainz have been in the running for the Red Bull seat for so long, left the program to join Renault and performed very admirably there. And then he joined McLaren and really started to show his worth. And now he's in another top 3 team. Let's be fair, McLaren is amongst the top 3 teams, although in recent years you wouldn't have thought so, but they are on the resurgence. And now Carlos Sainz has landed the biggest seat of all, the prancing horse at Ferrari. And now he is right on the tail of Sergio Perez. There is going to be a battle for the lead here. Can Carlos Sainz finally win his first Grand Prix? It's very early to say that, but he's right there in position for it, and Carlos Sainz knows how to battle for the win. Don't forget, in Monza just last season, he had a fight with Pierre Gasly. Unfortunately for Sainz, Gasly won that day, so this could be a day of redemption for Carlos Sainz. We are coming up to the second of the DRS zones officially on the track. Carlos Sainz is going to have DRS on Perez. Perez is not going to have DRS. What is Sainz going to do into turn 1? Is he going to make a move? He is taking to the outside of Sergio Perez. He's going to do the same move he did on Verstappen. And Carlos Sainz has made it stick. Carlos Sainz leads the French Grand Prix. And this is sensational. Oh my goodness, it's Vettel. That's Vettel with a spin. Oh no. He was doing so well. Sebastian Vettel has spun the car. What happened there? He's going to have to wait for this whole kerfuffle to go past. That's Jackson down to Kimi Räikkönen, that is. That's a train. And Schumacher is passing George Russell. He's going to make up 2 places there. Oh, Sebastian Vettel. What happened? He's still unable to keep the car from spinning. He's had a problem since 2019. But look at this sensational move from Carlos Sainz. He's almost off the track. He was on the curbs. What a move by Sainz. He's inspired today in that Ferrari. Let's see what Sebastian Vettel, the man he replaced at Ferrari, went wrong here. He takes too much curb. He tries to counter the spin, and the car just gives out on him. And, well, it's very unfortunate for Sebastian Vettel. He was running a great P7 after making a couple of places from P9 on the grid. He had to wait for that whole traffic jam that Jackson formed to get this. And what's this? This is Gasly. Is this Gasly passing Verstappen? It is. Max Verstappen is still sinking. Pierre Gasly has got ahead of him. Oh my goodness, there's Vettel spinning, and in all that, Gasly passed Verstappen. There is something wrong with that Red Bull. There's got to be. Ricciardo has passed Verstappen. Max Verstappen, there is a problem with the car. There has got to be a problem with the car. There is no way Max Verstappen would be losing this many places. Maybe his tyres are dead. Maybe. He'll have to probably pin in the next lap or so, but this man is inspired. Carlos Sainz is leading this Grand Prix, and he's leading it rather comfortably, I think. How far is Perez behind? We can't tell. The interval is broken. There's Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc has caught up to Perez. Where on earth did he come from? Is he going to pass Perez? No, because Perez is going to get DRS from Carlos Sainz. Where did Charles Leclerc come from? He was the second behind Sainz, and now he's caught right up to Perez. That Ferrari B-Spec power unit is mighty, isn't it? Lewis Hamilton has pitted, and the front runners are pitting. Max Verstappen is in the pits because he can't cope with that car and those set of tyres. There's Schumacher going into P40. Where is Jackson then? Jackson's P7 now, so he's got ahead of... let's see who's behind him. Hamilton, Verstappen, they'll pass him for sure. Because unfortunately Jackson probably might well have no answer for that. Sebastian Vettel was also pitted, probably to get rid of those tyres. Maybe that was the reason why he spun. And the top 10 now. Listen to this top 10 as Sergio Perez repasses Carlos Sainz, unfortunately. And now Charles Leclerc is coming up on Carlos Sainz. Hold the firm, we'll hold that top 10 for a second, because Charles Leclerc is going to go down the inside of his very first corner of his teammate. That's bold, and he made it stick. Oh my goodness, what a move by Charles Leclerc. These Ferraris are mighty. That Ferrari B-Spec unit is mighty. Ferrari has certainly got some pace back in that car with that power unit. Well done by Ferrari then. So, top 10 now. Sergio Perez has retaken the lead. Charles Leclerc has taken second ahead of Carlos Sainz. Valtteri Bottas, and then both McLarens. Aiden Jackson is now P7 and holding his own against Alonso Stroll and Giovinazzi. The pit stops are still going on. Perez is in, Leclerc is in, and Bottas is in. So they'll be for, obviously because their teammates pitted first, although Carlos Sainz has actually gone on. Interesting tactic here for Carlos Sainz. He's made the tyres last 8 laps. Lando Norris is now P2. Aiden Jackson is now P3. Oh my word, what is going on? Alonso is slowing down the straight. And is that a failure for Fernando Alonso? It is. Bang! Alpine Renault engine goes boom. And Fernando Alonso, who was in a very good position to be fair, is going to pull out of the race. And it's a home Grand Prix for Alpine and the Renault engine, and they're going to have one driver pulling out of the race. That's a shame for Fernando Alonso. So the order is changing all the time at the moment. We can barely keep up. But here, this Aiden Jackson in a HAAS is in third position. Should he go on and Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris pit in the next couple of laps, Aiden Jackson will be leading the French Grand Prix. Oh my goodness. And he has the legs of Lance Stroll, doesn't he? You'd expect Stroll to be, well, really just cruising onto the back of Aiden Jackson, but he's not doing it. And, well, could this be, dare we say it, could this be a points finish for Aiden Jackson? It really does depend how far he can go on those medium tyres. Carlos Sainz is in now from the lead. He had a comfortable, he now had an 8-second lead over Lando Norris. It is going to be interesting to see how many stops folks make. And here he comes. Here comes Aiden Jackson. Is he going to lead a Formula 1 Grand Prix for the first time? Yes, he is. Aiden Jackson takes the lead of the French Grand Prix in the HAAS. Oh my goodness. Shocks personified in this Grand Prix. We've got team radio coming. I'm sure HAAS will be shocked.
Aiden Jackson, you are P1. You are leading the French Grand Prix, mate. How's the car feeling? The car feels great. I think the tyres are starting to go off a little bit, but I do think we can make these last to our pit window. I recommend we stay with Plan A. Love the confidence, mate. Copy that.
And they're very much, I'm shocked there. And now, what is going to happen here? Aiden Jackson now, half a second clear of Lance Stroll, approaching the DRS zone. It's going to be very interesting to see how long Jackson can hold this lead. He's recommending Plan A. He's got confidence. Aiden Jackson, there's no shortage of confidence. Plan A. He wants to stick with Plan A. Not switching to Plan B, maybe for an undercut or an overcut. He's going to stick with Plan A. The kid's confidence is very high at the moment. You must feel that way for him. But he's still holding in against Lance Stroll, isn't he? And, well, HAAS, a car with no development on it for the whole of this season, is going to lead a lap in 2021. Here comes Aiden Jackson to lead his first ever lap in Formula 1. Aiden Jackson is now a race leader, and that has probably been coming for some time, because this kid oozes talent. We said it in Baku, we witnessed it in Baku, and now it is showing. And look at this. How is he even able to keep ahead of Lance Stroll with that Merc power unit in the Aston Martin? And here's Antonio Giovinazzi as well. He's going long because he's on the medium tyres. The Ferrari power unit certainly is working. Unfortunately for Mick Schumacher, that doesn't really seem to be the case. But to be fair, he's chasing two Mercedes in front of him, which are going to be runaway cars for him. And now he's going to enter battle once again with Daniel Ricciardo. Now he finished ahead of Ricciardo in Monaco, Mick Schumacher. There was Lance Stroll having a look at Aiden Jackson, but nothing doing. And Charles Leclerc was having a look there at Yuki Tsunoda. And Tsunoda's on the medium tyre, so he's going long as well. And there's Carlos Sainz. He's probably made this all back up. Jackson's forming a train, and it's probably helping the likes of Carlos Sainz out there. Charles Leclerc around the other side of Pierre Gasly. And does that come off? No, Gasly just keeps it in. Oh my goodness, this race has been enthralling. We're only 10 laps in. Oh my word. What a race. Jackson is still leading this race. Oh my goodness, I mean, he's forming a train, so it might actually help him to pit now. It might be better to pit now because he's forming a train here. By the time he pits for his pit stop, he's probably going to be very much out of the points. That train goes down to Kimi Raikkonen in P8 at the moment, and there's the Mercedes as well. So the Mercedes cars are now catching them. So Aiden Jackson, he's sticking with Plan A. He's trying to tough it out, but I don't know whether that would be a good idea because he's forming such a train behind him. He's going to be out of the points by his pit stop. And there's Daniel Ricciardo passing. That's Lando Norris passing Mick Schumacher. So Ricciardo had already passed him. So Schumacher's sinking like a boat as well, it seems. There's Perez. There's Perez at the back. What's happened to Perez? Why is he down there? Is he had damage somewhere? Did he pit again? Huh. Well, that was unbeknownst to us because we were so focused on the race lead and Jackson. But Sergio Perez has dropped to last place. Now, the Red Bull should be able to make that up. But he'll need people to pit ahead of him now. That's not good for Sergio Perez. He was leading the race at one point. So, who is in best position here? I think best position probably goes to Carlos Sainz. Because everyone from Tsunoda up will have to pit. Jackson still has to pit. Stroll still has to pit. Giovinazzi still has to pit. Ocon still has to pit. And Tsunoda still has to pit. They're all on the medium tyres. Now, Lance Stroll knows how to lead a race. Remember Turkey last year. But he's not... Why is he not making any inroads on Jackson? Has Jackson got the legs of Stroll, perhaps, in the Aston Martin? This will not be impressing Aston Martin one bit, I can tell you that, for free. But, well, there is such a train here. Now Ricciardo and Norris have caught up. Jackson is adamant. He is staying out there and forming Plan A. Be damned, let's say, because he's forming quite the train behind him, Aiden Jackson, but he's holding his own. He's now led 4 laps of this Grand Prix now. Oh my word, and maybe this could work out with Jackson. Because he'll have to go on the meet. Oh my god, there's a battle there. There's a Ferrari. That's Sainz and Ocon, I think. And all these people behind Jackson were really getting very frustrated because he's as wide as anything. He's the widest HAAS in the world, Aiden Jackson. Well, to be fair, Stroll isn't cruising under the back of him either, which is very uncharacteristic of the Aston Martin. I mean, Aston Martin had been hit worst by the new regulations, but it should be still beating that HAAS car with no development. That's a given. And Bottas has passed Hamilton. And Hamilton's now being harried by Daniel Ricciardo as well. The Mercedes are battling. Sainz has passed Giovinazzi, so Carlos Sainz is working his way up into prime position here because he's now right in the middle of this. And should he pass Stroll and Jackson? The HAAS crew are in the pits, so they're bringing Jackson in now. The man in prime position is Carlos Sainz. That's a vital move by Carlos Sainz. Can he pass Stroll as well? If he passes Stroll, he's in great position here. And Stroll is going to pit. So now that releases Carlos Sainz into clean air. And he'll have... actually, there's a bunch of cars pitting. There's all that was not pitting, or have not pitted yet, are now pitting. So it's Jackson, Stroll, Tsunoda, and Giovinazzi. Ocon has gone on. So Esteban Ocon has actually gone on. So Giovinazzi and Ocon have stayed out for another lap. Interesting. Here's Jackson into the pits. He's going to drop quite some far way down, but if he can keep ahead of Lance Stroll, who knows? So, your top 10 after almost the first rounds of stops have been completed. Carlos Sainz back in the lead of this Grand Prix. Antonio Giovinazzi followed by Esteban Ocon. Charles Leclerc ahead of both Mercedes, ahead of both McLarens. Max Verstappen has made his way back into P9 now, ahead of Pierre Gasly. Perez is now on the medium tyres, so we'll probably have to stop again. I'm still not sure why Perez was even down there to begin with. Sebastian Vettel's now made his way back into P15 after that spin earlier. And, well, what a race. I mean, can Carlos Sainz be on to be our first another different race winner in Formula 1? I think we have 37 different winners now. So Carlos Sainz could become winner number 8. What tyres is Sainz on? I think he's on the softs. And if that's the case, and the Ferrari power unit has the power to keep ahead of these guys, then Sainz, dare we say, he might just win this race. Now Giovinazzi and Ocon are coming in. That means it's a Ferrari 1-2. Just let that sink in for a moment. Ferrari, who were tumultuous last season. Last season was an absolute disaster. At the French Grand Prix a year later, they are 1-2 in this race. That Ferrari B-Spec power unit has aided them massively, it seems. And dare we say it, maybe we could have a Ferrari race win here. The first one since Charles Leclerc in the Italian Grand Prix of 2019. Wow, it's been some wait for Ferrari, but it might just have been worth it if this all works out. So, it's both Ferraris from both McLarens, from both Mercedes, from Max Verstappen, from Pierre Gasly to Sergio Perez, and then Sebastian Vettel. That is your top 10. Aiden Jackson is P11. Now, some of these drivers are on soft tyres, and some of these drivers are on the medium tyres. Hamilton is on the mediums. Charles and Carlos Sainz are on the softs. Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz. Valtteri Bottas there. Yep, Sainz is on the soft, so he'll have to pin again because I don't think there's going to be any way that he makes it to the end of the race. There is 13 laps to go, so I don't think the softs are going to last that long. So Sainz will have to pin again. So it's all about what Sainz can do in this stint that may determine whether he wins this race or not. He really needs Charles Leclerc to be there to back him up, but he's already lost out to Bottas and he's already pinning again. So Charles Leclerc's tyres are literally dead. He's coming in. I think he pitted a few laps before so Sainz having his first stop probably a couple of laps later than Leclerc. This could all work out really rosy for Carlos Sainz. There's Max Verstappen in the pits. And obviously that's his race ruined. He does get back ahead of Norris. He won't get back ahead of Leclerc, however. So, the man in prime position now, Carlos Sainz. And not only that, Aiden Jackson's in a pretty good spot here. Because he's going to be back into the points. Yes. And he's on the hard tyres. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know. I mean, Charles will pass him for sure.
Alright, Aiden, race update for you. There are 12 laps remaining, and we are doing ever so well, mate. We could be actually on for some points here. Gasly, Perez and Vettel may all have to stop again in front of you, and that could leave you at best P5 or P6 depending on the gaps. Once it filters out after those stops, Perez, Verstappen and Leclerc will all be behind you and should be able to pass you, but that will put you down to P9. You've had the measure of Stroll all race long, so focus on defending from him. Don't fight the Red Bulls and Leclerc too hard, focus on him. You are on for points here, buddy. Then let's go get them, boys. Let's do this. Copy that.
Aiden Jackson is fired up. HAAS think they can get some points here, lads. Oh my goodness. Would that be so awesome if that was true? 15 laps into this race. 13 to go. Carlos Sainz is in the pits. And there's that soft tyres gamble gone for both Ferraris, really. Status quo back at the front then. Bottas leading from Hamilton though. Pierre Gasly in P3. HAAS believe that Gasly, Vettel and Perez may have to pit again. Meanwhile, there is, who is that battling Ferrari? Is that Carlos Sainz? Is that Aiden Jackson and Charles Leclerc? Well, I'm sure he's going to pass Charles Leclerc. And that was Jackson on Leclerc. So Jackson was defending from Leclerc there. So he was told not to really worry about Leclerc and the Red Bulls. But Jackson didn't get that memo, it seems. Let's have a look at this. He went a little wide. He puts Leclerc in great position on the medium tyres. Now, really, Leclerc should have a tyre advantage here. Jackson holding around the outside. And he's going to have the inside line for the final corner. And he pushes Leclerc almost over track. Is that forcing someone over track, maybe? I don't think so. I think that was clean enough. And then Leclerc just has no traction because he's forcing to go maybe a little bit wider. But I think that's fair from Jackson. And that's totally in his right to do, to be fair. So he didn't get the memo about not fighting the Leclerc then, because he battled and defended from Leclerc. So now Mercedes are in really prime position to win this race, maybe. How much can Carlos Sainz make up, do you think? What tyres is he on? Gasly's pitting, so HAAS will right about that. How far is... Yeah, I think Jackson might pass him. So I think HAAS have hit it right on the button. I think they've hit it right on the button where Jackson will feed out. So there's been more pit stops being made. So the tyres are not lasting. The tyres are not lasting at this circuit. So does that mean then that Mercedes have to pit again? And Perez too? Because Carlos, if that's true, then Sainz, with 10 laps to go, he could just do this. Carlos Sainz could win this race. Aiden Jackson could score points. I mean, wow. Just wow. Wow. And, well, I'm not going to make any bold predictions here. But this is shaping up to be a historic French Grand Prix for many reasons. Do Bottas and Hamilton have to stop again? There's Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen. And they're either side of our Stroll. They are either side of the Aston Martin. Has Max Verstappen gone out ahead? No, Charles keeps it. Oh my word, and here we go again. A repeat of Silverstone in 2019, I think it was, where Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen battled some more, quite frankly. And here we go. Charles down the outside, phenomenal move. Max follows on the other side, and that's reminiscent of Hakkinen and Michael Schumacher back in the year 2000, when they both ran round Zonta, and Hakkinen did that phenomenal move, but Charles Leclerc won that exchange. Hamilton is in. Hamilton is in the pits. So Carlos Sainz is currently 14 seconds behind. So Carlos now will assume second place, and Sainz, how far is he behind Bottas? 14 seconds. If Hamilton is in, then Bottas has to pit again. Carlos Sainz is in prime position to win this race, but he's got Sergio Perez bearing down on him. But HAAS think the Perez has to stop again. There's Charles Leclerc going around the outside of Aiden Jackson. Oh no! Jackson gets his elbows out again, as we'd expect at this point. It's no longer a shock. Wow, that's hard tyres for Aiden Jackson as well. This could be even more phenomenal if Jackson can pull this off. He is down to P6. HAAS have called it on the button then. Don't fight Leclerc and Verstappen hard. Perez might have to pit as well. So Jackson, I think HAAS are right. I think they could get some points out of this. because he has had the measure of Lance Stroll this weekend, or at least in this race. And now it's the same scenario again, as Jackson just continues to get swamped, but I don't think he'll care one bit, because now he has a car he's even keel with in terms of Lance Stroll, and he's been ahead of Stroll all race long. Is Bottas coming in? Is Bottas coming? Yes, he is! So Carlos Sainz will lead this race, and Carlos Sainz could win this French Grand Prix. This is Carlos Sainz's moment now. Can he do it? Bottas changes to another set, and Perez is in as well. And that's it. Carlos Sainz now will lead from Lando Norris. The bromance of McLaren a year back now is leading this race. They are 1-2 for different teams. Hamilton comes out behind Valtteri Bottas, and that is not what Mercedes would want. Is James Allison going to be on the radio telling him to move, because that is not good for the championship. But to be fair, Perez is now out of the points. He'll probably make those back up. Verstappen is behind Hamilton on the track. And now all eyes are on Aiden Jackson now. Can he make this work? Perez will definitely probably catch up to him passing. Ricciardo might even as well. So that's going to be P9. So HAAS have really got this on the button now. It's all down to Jackson. He needs to hold on as long as he can. What a phenomenal drive. It was that start again. Down the inside goes Lance Stroll. Jackson defending for his life. And you'd expect nothing less. This kid is on for points. He has been on the cusp for so long. You'd feel he has been with the performances he's put in. He's really been on the cusp since Baku. But what was the difference between Baku and now? Because to be fair, Jackson got passed by Sebastian Vettel in the Aston Martin. So why is he able to hold Stroll off? I mean, the straights in France are not as long as Baku's, so maybe that helps. Or maybe Jackson is... Maybe he learned a lot from deploying ERS on the straights, and maybe that's what's helping him. Whatever he's doing, keep doing it, boy, because you could be on to score points here, and I don't think there is any F1 fan that wouldn't want to see that. Well, we've got a scrap here between Leclerc and Verstappen as they draw swords once again. Now, can Bottas and Hamilton close in on Lando Norris and Carlos Sainz? You'd think that Mercedes would have the legs, at least of Norris, but I don't know. I think we are 7 laps from the end now, and we could have historic moments here, because Carlos Sainz could be on for his first race win, and Aiden Jackson could be on for his first points. This could be a historic afternoon if this turns out this way. And well, what a race we've had. It is all down to Bottas and Hamilton now, but are they going to be too busy fighting each other like they were in Baku? Maybe there needs to be some form of team orders at Mercedes, because for the moment their equal status is not aiding them in terms of the Drivers' Championship. I mean, Hamilton has the lead in the Drivers' Championship by almost a race win at this point. Jackson is still holding off Lance Stroll. In fact, he's kind of getting away from him. He was, he was about a second there, almost. He almost broke DRS range. He could really do. Could he really do this? We don't want to say he could. He will, because I think, like I said, there's no F1 fan that doesn't want to see Aiden Jackson score a point this season. But if he can get them, if he can get at least 9th, that would put HAAS ahead of both Alfa Romeo and Williams in the constructors, and that would do wonders for their 2022 development. In a year where they expected to score no points, with no development on the car, Aiden Jackson could just defy the odds here. I'm talking like this because I'm incredibly nervous. Max Verstappen going down the outside of Charles Leclerc into the chicane nord round the outside. Great move by Max. You expect nothing less. And what's the tyre situation? Well, I think Max is on newer tyres than Leclerc, so I think that is pretty much all she wrote. Is Max going to catch the Mercedes? Probably not, you know. I think 5th is where Max is going to finish. So Red Bull, who knocked out the front row, have Max only in 5th and Perez out of the points. It's been a disaster race for Red Bull, let's be honest. Look at this train. Look at that train that Jackson's forming. I mean, this could help Perez out, to be fair. I don't think Jackson cares one bit if he's forming a train or not. The only matter to him is that he stays ahead of it and doesn't fall to it. Now it's Yuki Tsunoda with Perez bearing down on him. Yuki Tsunoda had a penalty down to 17th, so to be 13th isn't really too bad. Mick Schumacher, we haven't really talked about him, but he's actually ahead of both Williams here, which is a great effort, to be fair. But Jackson may take the lead over him. Schumacher has led the driver's standings with Jackson for a few races now. But I think the objective, if this comes off, then HAAS really need to put all their resources into making sure Mick Schumacher can score as well. Because we hate to say it, but it doesn't have a great look for Schumacher here, because Jackson could get his points and Schumacher won't score. And Schumacher was the F2 champion. There is Daniel Ricciardo going down the outside of Lance Stroll, and that's now going to put Jackson down to P8 because Ricciardo will pass him. So HAAS really did call it on the button here. It's only whether Perez can catch up, but the train is forever being formed by Aiden Jackson. But Mick Schumacher came through as the F2 champion, and yet it's HAAS's low knee that gets them points today. I mean, it's not a bad look on Mick Schumacher, let's be honest. Mick Schumacher always does better in the second season, as F2 proved. You can't judge Schumacher on the first season, and to be honest, that car is still difficult to drive. I mean, this is a phenomenal defensive job by Jackson, and I honestly don't know how he's even doing it. But credit to Jackson, he's doing absolutely ever so well. And it's gonna drop out to Ricciardo here. The HAAS, let's be fair, the HAAS is definitely not gonna be in this situation for the rest of the season. It's not like Jackson's wringing the neck at this car. I mean, let's be honest, but I don't think it's Jackson did get onto P13. He did benefit from 2 grid penalties. I mean, he made a great start. We don't want to discredit them, but I think it's the nervousness that Jackson could actually score points here. I think that's what it is. We can't discredit this drive from Jackson has just been phenomenal. And I think the reason we're being like this is because we don't want to get our hopes up too high, because we know HAAS is the worst car on the grid. I know it's a horrible term, but Jackson has been passed by Ricciardo. I think we're just really hoping and nervous, because, like we said, Jackson has amassed quite the following in Formula 1. It's not going to be anywhere on the levels of Max Verstappen, because that guy's support is almost infinite. But yeah, Jackson is amassing quite the following, I can tell you that. And this will be a very popular point scoring. But let's not forget, we have a race out front. We have Carlos Sainz to become another different winner in Formula 1. Hamilton has now passed Bottas, so team orders in effect at Mercedes maybe, but here comes Bottas with DRS. Nope. So maybe James was on the radio to Bottas to let Hamilton through for the points. Let's see if Bottas actually gets to the first DRS zone and passes him. They are making inroads on Lando Norris. They are making inroads on him. Norris has a 2-second lead over Hamilton now. Can Norris hold on for another podium? Norris and Carlos Sainz, probably 2 drivers you think by now would deserve a race win. And it looks like Norris is going to get it as Perez puts a move on Pierre Gasly. He's charging through the field now. He's starting to feel it on those medium tyres. And Perez is going to get it back into the points. What happened to Perez earlier, we do not know. And now on Lance Stroll, and he could get Jackson as well, and not quite. In fact, he fell behind Stroll as they came out there. So Jackson was told not to fight the Red Bulls so hard. Focus on Stroll. And to be fair, he has had the measure of Stroll this race. And I'm incredibly nervous with Jackson here, because it would just be a so popular day, and a day that Aiden Jackson deserves. But look, what about this man? Carlos Sainz. He has been the nearly man for so long. He's been a lot like Nico Hulkenberg, a man that deserves a seat in one of the top teams on the grid. And in McLaren he had a seat, to be fair, but now he's got the biggest one of all, and he could grab this win. Lando Norris is now 9. Is that 9 or 5? I don't know if he's catching Sainz. Sainz could win this race. There's 3 laps left, and Sainz has a comfortable lead over Norris. 2 seconds over Bottas. Bottas has now got back at Hamilton now, so maybe there is no team orders at Mercedes. Maybe they are running equal status. Can Perez pass Stroll and pass Jackson in the next 3 laps as well? That would be an interesting question. This would be 3 points for Aiden Jackson. There's Pierre Gasly as well. That's a worrying thought. So now Perez down the inside of Lance Stroll. The DRS, and surely he's got it this time. Although Jackson is going to have Stroll and Perez on either side almost. Not quite. Jackson sticking to his line and sticking to his guns and getting his elbows out. This is for points. This is legit points for Aiden Jackson. He has earned this today. He has earned it before. And Perez going round the outside of Lance Stroll. And he still can't make it. Stroll's on the hard tyres as well. Perez just sticking it in. And go on, lad. He's done it. Brilliant. And now Perez could give HAAS very nervy final moments here. We are on lap 20. We are on the penultimate lap of this race. We are 2 laps away from a historic day here at Le Castellet. Carlos Sainz for his first F1 win. Aiden Jackson for his first F1 points. Let's do this. Let's witness more history in Formula 1. This sport is a wonderful sport. For reasons like this. For reasons like Pierre Gasly winning at Monza. For reasons like Sergio Perez winning at Sakir. For reasons like George Russell earning his first points at Sakir after a phenomenal drive. We are witnessing more today. We could be witnessing the first win of Carlos Sainz, the first points for Aiden Jackson. The question is for Jackson will be how many, because Sergio Perez now has DRS down the inside. Jackson puts up no fight whatsoever. He lets him go because he has to. He has to focus on Stroll. The question now is, he has the legs of Stroll, but will Gasly have enough time to get a point? Schumacher is still ahead of the Williams, only just. Let's hope he can hold that position. And here he is. It could just happen now. It could be a reality. Aiden Jackson is just over a lap away from his first points in Formula 1. And the HAAS garage has got to be absolutely chewing their nails off completely. Baloney from Mercedes is now 1 lap away from getting his first points, and his stock will rise tenfold if he can pull this off. Lap 27, the final lap then of this race. Carlos Sainz is leading it, but the race director does not care about that. He wants to see Aiden Jackson score points, and we all do. Carlos Sainz now in the final sector of the race. Jackson still in P9. Stroll and Gasly buried down on him. And Verstappen has been passed by Leclerc. Leclerc has passed Verstappen at the last. It's been a horrible race for Red Bull. It's been a horrible race. They were on the front row of the grid. And now Stroll takes to the outside. Jackson holds it. Gasly's trying to go round as well. And I think that might have just given Aiden Jackson his first 2 points in Formula 1. That might have just done it. Round the outside, Lance Stroll to the first corner. And Jackson holds it. He's done it. Carlos Sainz has won the French Grand Prix. Oh my word, vamos. Carlos Sainz has done it. He is a race winner in Formula 1. It's been a few years overdue, but he'll take it. Mercedes have a bit of a weak one, to be fair. Leclerc beats Verstappen. There's Ricciardo. There's Jackson. Fastest lap by Sergio Perez. Jackson around the final corner. He's done it. Aiden Jackson has scored his first point. Sainz his first win. What a day. What an absolute day in Formula 1. Another one of those days that you never forget. Oh my goodness. Aiden Jackson, how did he do it? His talent. His talent. Watch this kid in a few years' time, because I don't think we're going to forget him for some time.
Aiden Jackson, you absolute star. That's 2 points, mate. 2 points. Let's go, boys. Thank you so much. This car was excellent. Oh, we did it, boys. We did it. Yes.
An excellent car, says Aiden Jackson. Oh, wow. What a French Grand Prix. Carlos Sainz wins it, lads. Oh, that is beautiful. Carlos Sainz. There is no F1 fan that didn't want to see that. That didn't want to see Jackson scoring points. There is no fan that didn't want that at all. Phenomenal stuff. Carlos Sainz from Lando Norris, who was 10th on the grid. Bottas and Hamilton, Leclerc Verstappen, Leclerc beating him at the last, Daniel Ricciardo, Sergio Perez, Aiden Jackson, Lance Stroll. That's your top 10. Phenomenal race. Oh my goodness. Ferrari win for the first time since Charles Leclerc in 2019 at Monza. Every season, if you could write a storybook, those would be one of the pieces. There's always one season that has an unbelievable story. We've witnessed 2 today. We've witnessed the first win of Carlos Sainz and the first points of Aiden Jackson. And after all that, it's Hamilton that still leads the championship by 15 points. Max Verstappen now drops behind Sainz. Rebel had him there today, to be fair. Wow. I love this sport. We all love it for reasons like this. Just phenomenal. And there in the constructors' standings, HAAS move up to P9. Wow. Wow. What a French Grand Prix. Next we have a double Austria and then the British Grand Prix, where Aiden Jackson is going to have a raucous reception. But also today we have a new winner. It's Carlos Sainz. And there was no one that didn't want to see that. Well, we head to Austria for Styria and the Austrian Grand Prix. But today has been a day that will live long in the memory of almost everybody. Sainz is a winner, Jackson's a point scorer. Goodbye, we hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you for the Styrian Grand Prix.